there's another level of execution as you're trying to accomplish these glitches, and we are underway.
First chest, we get $50 in Link's house. Good for some bombs to start with.
Certainly, and both runners looks like they're heading east.
They want to check Hylia Island at the very least, because you want to see if you got to go clip over to that island and get what's on there, because you can get it right from the start. There's nothing stopping you since you've got boots. Ack is opting to go and buy some bombs with those $50 right off the bat.
Meanwhile, Furaime, seeing that it was just a heart container, looks like he's going to go check Sahasrah's closet.
AcktheBoker looks to be following it in pursuit. And we'll likely get to see what the green pendant is here. That is Ice Palace.
Okay.
That's some pretty good news for our runners. It might mean that the mitts are far away and we never get to see them.
Meanwhile, what's inside Sahasrah's closet is not really all that worthwhile.
We get the small key for the sewers in Sanctuary, so we could go through the front of that and clear it all the way out, although having a lamp would be nice for that. We get a map check, 2 blue crystals on Desert and Eastern, and a red crystal on Hera.
That'll certainly be very nice to see in terms of trying to accomplish. This is something new I'm seeing from AcktheBoker. He's going for South Shore before even going to Kakariko.
And that's actually a fairly common play, because you typically don't want to go to Kakariko that early, because often you can wind up orphaning a few things like the sick kid or the powder bat, and it gets to be kind of tedious to get back over there later on, especially when it's so quick to get to other areas.
Meanwhile, we had a hammer in the Bonk Rocks in the Flankshore location, and just green rupees from the Tier 1 tree pole.
And we get some bombs off of the bush crab. That's pretty nice. With a heart container in the flooded item for the water gate.
And Ack seeing those single bombs from the bush crabs down south. Lumberjack Ledge, just a big 20 today.
That one Moldworm just decided to stay up along the wall and is dodging the bombs. Look at that worm go.
They are certainly staying full clear away from those bombs. Axe only got one left for this one that's been causing him so many problems. Finally gets it. We got a lamp, some love, and other assortment of items.
A few more bombs, which is nice, because he had to use so many there.
Yeah, because he'll especially need that to get into Ice Rod Cave and check that.
No, he doesn't. He can just clip into it.
Or that. See, still, 1 week, novice, me.
I wonder if he's going to go for it. He might not, because once you do that clip, it's kind of annoying to get back out of the cave. So he's going to go ahead and bomb it open, which is fine. He may want to do other things, such as fake flippering over to Hobo or up to the Waterfall Ferry in Zora area.
He's far from Zora money. All right, silver arrows in the bombable portion of Blind's Hut.
Ack is opting to water walk away. If I were him, I actually wouldn't go for Hobo right now. I'd just go straight to Zora. So yeah, that's what he's doing. Because you can get to Hobo by doing the kind of clip for the Lake Hylia Island, but instead going up and then just fake flippering that transition to get to Hobo. Cuts out a lot of the travel time. And we get a blue mail and sword in the Kakariko Well.
Last race I commentated, it took 50 minutes to find the first sword, so glad that we're only having to go 5 in this one. And looks like we got a bottle on the Zora ledge.
I think we're going to skip that for now, because there are other ones that exist within the run, so we probably won't see that get collected for quite a while, if at all.
300 bucks in the chicken hut, and Ack is running back on the water walking and gonna go check Hobo. And a ether coin from the Hobo.
Meanwhile, we've got a library check for just a piece of heart, and I wonder if Furaime is going to go and cheat the race game. We'll see if it's anything good first, but you can actually teleport up and collect the item without even having to go through the house or bomb open the wall or anything.
But with just being a little bit of love, not gonna bother and gonna head south for desert.
Looks like our stun prize is a green rupee, so not particularly useful for our runners there. And Furaime is taking the dip into Desert Palace. Now, he doesn't have the lamp that AcktheBoker found in the mini Moldorm cave, so he's not going to be able to fully complete this dungeon.
Yep, with the Overworld clips, you are able to actually, once you have the fire source, you can full clear desert, because again, in this Overworld glitches mode, we give you the boots to start, so that big key is not boots locked like it normally is in a standard randomizer run.
Right, and you don't even need the gloves, because you can actually clip into the slope that is around the main entrance of desert, and just hop to the area between all the rocks, and just get to the back entrance that way.
All right, so we haven't seen the small key yet in desert, so that will be this here. So we've got the map left and the 2 items that would be in desert.
There's one of them.
Just a big 20. Furaime is pretty close to Zora money, and there's the map, so Lambo will have the second item.
There's a couple more areas that Furaime can check here in desert real quick. He's going to go for the Cave 45, or the Flute Grove, whichever you want to call it, as well as the cave that houses Agina. It's not so far out of the way in this mode as compared to other ones. Using the spin speed from the sword to get through that cliff in a really quick fashion.
And we have a cane from a man named Brian in that South Grove cave. And now we're going to see Agina's cave on Furaime's side as AcktheBoker makes his way through Kakariko and picks up everything that we've already seen thus far.
It's going to be interesting to see if Furaime decides to go for the South Shore loop and hopefully get his lamp, or if he's going to go up to Death Mountain. Looks like it's the South Shore loop.
That's the one thing that I have certainly seen from watching these races is that with pretty much the entire light world at the runner's disposal, it really kind of just, it's at the runner's discretion as to how they want to route it, because you've got all of Death Mountain, you've got all of Kakariko, you've got all of South Shore. There's so many different places you can go that there isn't really a standard route like there is in the normal modes.
Yeah, and it's up to you, based on the items that you get, that you kind of piece that together. And it's actually been found recently that you can get to the Mimic Cave Ledge with absolutely nothing. So you can boots clip there, you could do a one-frame clip there. All you need to get the item now is the hammer.
Which they both have from Bonk Rock, so that is entirely possible that they may end up doing that while they're up there.
I kind of doubt it, though, because it is out of logic. It's not something that they are required to do. And the mirror is such an important item that it's not really worth trying to sequence break things around it. The worms being a bit nicer to Furaime, although he does have a much better weapon with which to deal with them.
Ack getting his spin speed. Sees the piece of heart, and I wouldn't be surprised once he does the front of desert that he'll probably clip back and do the back of desert shortly thereafter.
Yeah, just go ahead and snag that crystal now while he's thinking about it. Wonder what Furaime is going to do after Ice Rod Cave here. Is he going to go to the Zora area like Ack did? In which case, he's actually pretty close to having enough money to pay Zora. I don't remember if there are any red rupees in the Waterfall Cave, though.
I remember that one of them was an arrow capacity upgrade, but I don't remember if the other one was a big 20 or a piece of heart.
Well, it doesn't matter because he found one anyway.
Well, yes, works for me. It was actually a red meringue.
So I imagine that Furaime is going to go ahead and pay Zora here. I don't imagine him getting the bottle yet. It may take a separate trip later on to get that bottle.
Very possibly so. And a love lesson from the Zora himself.
Now he's actually choosing to not get that item so he can keep his water walk here and thus clip to the island or clip to the ledge and get the bottle that way.
Gonna be
he lost it.
He lost it trying to take care of those Zoras.
So now we're going to see the Death Mountain play. I wonder which Death Mountain ascent he's going to use. There's actually a bunch of variations you could do. There's one that gets you up there by Lumberjack, there's a spin speed variant, and then there's the classic one where you have to correct your camera once you get up there.
Yeah, the camera correction one is the one that I've seen the most, where they end up going into the old man cave, and I think that's the one that Furaime is doing right now.
Yep, he's positioning himself for the upward teleport, which puts him on the other side of the transition here, which actually loads. It keeps the same collision as kind of the bottom area, or the area below the camera there, and now he's just got to kind of move the camera up as he goes around. Otherwise, the transition into the old man cave here takes an extra 2 minutes.
Yeah, and every second counts in this race. And we've seen Ack, after doing South Grove Cave, heading right back to the race game. So we'll see him clip in and imagine go take on Lammo.
You may not know that you can actually jump in from above the cave there, from the screen above, kind of. There's a way you can transition into the right spot that you can just hop down in between the rocks. Meanwhile, we've got Furaime checking the graveyard ledge.
From what I've seen of that clip from jumping from above, it seems like it's near pixel perfect, where you've only got like 1 or 2 pixels in order to land in the right spot.
It's really about getting far enough to the right, and since you don't hop until you run at a ledge for about 20 seconds, unless you quick hop it, you can kind of use that as a gauge for, am I far enough over?
Furaime is going to head into Hera. This is full clearable, and you got a fire source for the coffee break, and you got a hammer to take care of Trolldorm, so certainly makes sense to finish this while you're here.
And we did get the small key to start with, so it's kind of likely we're not going to see the big key in this chest. Yep, just the map, so we've got to go into the coffee break room. No way to skip it here.
Not at all. Alright, Ack is into Lambo. Ooh, Furaime missed the clip into his coffee break.
Looks like he's trying to set up a boomerang dash there. Gets it just fine. Now he can just sit there and wait on top of the pegs.
Ack is using that hammer to take care of Lambo.
It's going pretty well for him.
There's two. And
Furaime setting up a death orb here by taking a few tiles to the face.
And just 3 bombs from Lambo, and the first crystal of the game 16 minutes in.
Sadly, the blue mail doing Furaime no favors in facilitating that death warp.
But he does get it done, and now he's on his way up the tower.
So, same question for Ack. Which Death Mountain ascent are you going to use? He's going to opt for the teleport over the transition as well.
Piece of Heart is the first item in Tower of Hera. Question in chat, anyone know how the first match went? Was it close? I don't believe it was restreamed, so if I knew, I would tell ya.
Furaime entering the Moldworm fight, and AcktheBoker going for a rather useless hover there. Gets it.
Hey, just show it off. Furaime making quick work with Trolldorm. Trolldorm should have an item as well. And it's a French vanilla moon pearl.
There's our Dark World access. And actually with Hammer, you could go into GT and collect everything along the left side, provided you know the bomb jumps required to get everything. So I imagine he's going to do the East Death Mountain stuff first. He's going to check a couple of caves here along the way that he skipped because he did a Hera clip before and wasn't able to see what they were. There's the Bombos medallion.
Certainly worth picking up, and that Fisher-Price My First Shield is probably going to stay there for the rest of the race.
Absolutely. There's no reason to go up there and get it. Now, instead of going into GT, he could go and do the east side of Death Mountain, and also he could go into the regular part of the Dark World and go for Thieves Town, and possibly fully clear that. So it's going to be interesting to see what he chooses to do from here.
It clips back up to Hera to get up to the top of the mountain, so certainly believe this is for checking Spiral Cave and Paradox Cave.
Clipping up into the clouds, which are actually made of water tiles.
But just a big 20 on the floating island, so no need to stay up on the clouds.
I think once Furaime is done with the east side of Death Mountain here, he may actually opt to just hammer the pegs for the T-Rock portal and get into the Dark World that way to check Super Bunny and such. Wouldn't be a bad bit of routing there.
No, that would make to me that would make sense. It's the fastest portal to get to as opposed to like saving and quitting and then re-clip. You're just right there.
Question in chat from Dave Com, is turning into your Light World self without the Moon Pearl an unallowed glitch? No, it is actually allowed, and there's a bunch of methods that you can do to get that. Probably the most notable is something called fake fluting in the Dark World.
In fact, it's not only allowed, logically it may be required.
It's actually not.
Okay, never mind.
But we get a bottle fairy in the east side of Death Mountain, so now we will definitely not see anybody go for that bottle on the Zora ledge at this point.
Yeah, maybe I'm confusing myself, but I know from what I've seen, I know that Super Bunny and Bunny Revival are ones that I think are logically needed, but I think the fake flute you were talking about certainly is not.
Yes, that's correct. The Super Bunny is one where you either take damage or mirror the same frame that you enter an underworld location, so a dungeon or cave or something. And it puts Link into a weird state as a bunny where you can dash, slash your sword, open chests, and pick up rocks and such.
And we have Ether and Bombo, so of course Turtle Rock needs Quake.
Not that that's necessarily going to be required to actually complete the dungeon. And we have our next map check. We've got Thieves Town, Misery Mire, and Ice Palace as our pendants.
Skullwoods is the other 5/6 crystal. Alright, so Super Bunny Cave just having the Arrow of Destiny and another heart container. And we are seeing Ack head into GT.
As I mentioned before, he does actually have everything he needs to complete the entirety of the left side, and even has a decent weapon with which to fight the Ice Armos.
Yeah, I certainly have seen that Kane O'Brien work to take out those Armos Knights.
Meanwhile, I imagine that Furaime is going to head down to Pod from here.
Yep, and that little bit of love that the Catfish gave, he ain't even bothering with it. At this point, with 10 hearts and blue male, Furaime's got plenty of health.
Ack going for another hover.
Very nice. Not even a straight hover, doing a little bit of a diagonal to get into Stalfos' room. All right, we got Ice Rod, a small key. Another one and 20 bucks. So that Ice Rod is going to be locked by the hook shot, because that is the one room, the Stalfos room, you need to bomb jump without the hook shot, and bomb jumps are still not logically required in this mode.
That and dark rooms are not required in any logic set. There's our second sword in the Firebar room. And it looks like the majority of Palace of Darkness is not bow-locked, so we'll be able to see a bit more of the dungeon here from Furaime. Nice little slow dash from Ack because of how the bomb was in the air and landing.
Now again, everything here will be logically blocked by the hook shot.
And we find a pair of gloves on the bridge in Palace of Darkness. Now, interestingly enough, we may not even need a pair in order to complete the seed.
Yeah, with Ice Palace being a pendant, logically you need the Titan's Mist to get into Ice Palace, but you don't even... There is a mirror wrap you can do to get in there.
And then once you're inside, to fully complete the dungeon, you do actually still need a pair of gloves to lift up the big blocks within the dungeon. So did Furaime get a potion somewhere? Did he buy one?
Paradox Cave.
Okay. I thought that was a bottled fairy.
Oh, you might be right, and I think he just realized that.
Okay, so he's setting up a death warp, because I've seen someone actually do this same kind of bottle glitch, but with a fairy instead. Because you see, he kind of moved to the right a little bit from the knockback from the bomb, which may be enough so that he doesn't lock the camera to the far side, and will thus allow for the mimics to be manipulated here. And he gets it.
Very nicely done, Furaime.
Now, as far as I know, that's something that's only been recently discovered, so it's pretty nice being able to put that new knowledge into action.
Yeah, we're still fighting glitches in this game, almost 30 years in at this point.
Yeah, and there's still more that we want to find.
Alright, so Ack has exhausted his magic meter with a cane of Brian, still has 4 of those Armos Knights to take care of, now 3.
Stop slashing, Ack. You need to use spins or pokes. Nice little dance there with the hammer.
Alright, big key in pod.
And there's our big key for the Ganon's Tower.
Alright, so we can at least see the oft-ignored GT big chest and see if there's anything of importance in it today.
The only thing here that would actually let him continue on in the tower that would work are the bow or cane of Samaria, and it's the flute. I imagine he'll still activate it because it can be a nice way of getting around the world pretty quickly, and it's early enough in the seed that activating it doesn't feel like that much of a waste of time.
Meanwhile, Furaime is almost done in pod, not much left to do, but... Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, to honor Hyrule, we ask that you join us for the playing of the national Swag Duck Anthem.
And just before the anthem started, Furaime found the mushroom in the dark maze. So we'll get to see if he's going to turn that in quickly. I think he's going to death warp here to get back to the start of the dungeon. There's a couple of chests he's still left unchecked, so he's going to get those real quick. While AcktheBoker does the Graveyard Ledge clip.
Okay, we already saw that from Furaime, and I don't think there was anything of importance in there.
Nah, it was nothing.
Just with D-Bucks.
And we get the book as the last chest in Palace of Darkness. And with those gloves that he picked up from Palace of Darkness, Furaime is opting to go to the back of Escape, it looks like. Pick up those 3 chests real quick.
Probably could also do sewer chest since we had the small key in the sanctuary chest.
And the lamp. Makes that pretty easy.
a whole lot of nothing in the back of Escape.
And now Ack is opting to clear the east side of Death Mountain. He actually hasn't done this yet. Checking the island and then going to Spiral Cave. Okay, yeah. I was wondering why he wasn't heading that way first.
And $50 in the sewer chests.
Now it looks like he's going toward the Hype Cave. We'll be checking those items and doing the Dark World South Loop. Which is actually similar to the Light World one, except in the opposite direction.
Alright, $20 so far on Hype Cave, Titan's Mitts, triple bombs, $50, and 10 bombs.
Ew. The mitts.
Yeah.
So that opens up our Green Pendant Ice Palace, which is kind of unfortunate, if I'm being honest. It also opens up the Smithy and the Purple Chest, which isn't so bad.
So weird, though, that normally the Titan's Mitts you're ecstatic to see, but in this mode, nope.
Especially when Ice Palace is a pendant. Now Furaime's going to clip into the Mire area, check out which medallion he needs for that dungeon, as well as the 2 items in the Mire hut. And now that Ack is done with the east side of Death Mountain, I imagine he's going to go over to Zora to see what the 500 rupees can buy him. Or instead, he's going to the Dark World side of Death Mountain, and he's going to check Super Bunny Cave and probably go down to Pod from there, the same way that Furaime did.
Meanwhile, it is Bombos to get into Pendant Mire. Question in chat. Ice is still behind Flippers. In Overworld glitches, fake flippering and water walking is actually in logic.
Right, so that is required. So when we say that they can go into mitts now, and it's unfortunate to find the mitts because it opens up Ice Palace, we mean it. Furaime having a little bit of trouble with this downward teleport. He's on the right bump, but there's something that he's just not quite doing right. Now, when I say bump, I mean because if you look at the line that the slope makes, it's kind of wavy, and the parts where it juts out a little bit kind of make a little hump. And the cues that you use for teleporting are often found on the edges of those bumps. So now I've got the digging game and finding the mirror.
Very useful, especially for routing the rest of the way.
Furaime, what are you doing? What's with all the hesitation here? What are you doing?
I think he's realizing with the mirror that he needs to complete Desert and is deciding the best way to clip to get back to Desert.
Well, there's that, and there's also Checkerboard, and I guess he wants to hit both of those as quickly as he can.
That would make sense.
And since Ack doesn't have any gloves, he has to do this clip to go around the big rock that's there. Because it seems he's not comfortable with the other clip that Furaime used to get to Pod. And May opting to just go check the pyramid. rather than enter the dungeon there.
Alright, so Furaime is into the back of desert. Gonna take care of Lambo. Pyramid Ledge, just a vanilla heart piece of heart.
Now, since we know that Furaime found the mitts in a different location outside of Pod, it's actually not bad that Ack is skipping that right now. Because I believe that's... No, there was also the book, I guess, that we found in Pod, in the Vanilla Big Key location.
Mm-hmm.
So that, if there is something on the tab list, then that's really the only thing that Ack is going to be missing out on here.
And he's gonna get his power glove from the other glove upgrade that was in Hype Cave. So let me ask you this at this point, considering kind of where we are in the assortment of items we have, but nothing that really kind of is useful. Would you do a dip in a Turtle Rock at this point, or would you go try Pendant Thieves Town?
I'd at least check the front of Thieves, maybe some of Skull Woods. Outside of that, let's see. There's not really much else you can do. And Pod is actually kind of appealing for Ack if he winds up going around that side of the world again. And it's not going to be too difficult to get there since you can just use the portal that's right outside of Eastern Palace, which is also another place that we could wind up checking later on. And it's going to be easier for Ack since he's likely going to get the mirror here from the digging game.
Yeah, I can certainly concur with everything that you're saying there.
Nice hop down to stay on the same height.
Alright, so Furaime has Lambo done. And with that book that he got in Pod, he's going to go check Bombo's tablet.
After that, I imagine he's going to go back up to his mirror portal so he can go and check the Village of Outcasts. And Ack taking a dip into Misery Mire. This is kind of interesting. Or at the very least, he's opening it. I wonder if he feels like he needs to gamble against Furaime to make up for execution or something.
Well, he's going in.
Furaime opting to pick up the dwarf, and with the mirror, it's actually not going to be too bad to drop him off. So we're not going to see a big old world tour today.
Nope, just the standard route the game developers intended to bring Jeremiah home.
And typically, it's not really worth sequence breaking him. While it is possible to collect him without the mitts through use of the mirror or with a potion, it's honestly not worth it. At least in my opinion.
The Smiths giving you what love they have. And Furaime gonna go ahead and take the lunchbox, and then gonna open up Hammer Pegs.
Now with the lunchbox following him, he's not going to be able to enter Thieves Town properly. He's either gonna have to drop it off, or come back and collect it after dipping into the dungeon. So he might not dip into there at all, at least not without doing a save and quit with the purple chest in hand.
Yeah, he's gonna save and quit. I can see the logic of it, because at this point you've pretty much done everything else in the desert area, so otherwise you're gonna be orphaning the lunchbox. But I mean, personally, I probably would have done Thieves Town before going to Lunchbox, but again, that's Furaime's discretion, and, well, he's a much better runner than I am, so, you know.
Well, since he's got the mitts, it's not going to be so bad to get to the Village of Outcasts area. And rather than having to clear a bunch of stuff north of where you get the purple chest and then backtracking to get it, he's opting to just get it out of the way now, and then likely save and quit the Sanctuary so he can go and finish off the rest of Village of Outcasts.
Which certainly seems like that is what he's doing. We're gonna do King's Tomb while he's here.
It's always good to remember that you can do things without glitches. And there's our big key for Meyer. Still no Kane. I haven't really been paying attention to see if there have been any items in Meyer while he's been going around and checking them.
It's been all dungeon items from what I can tell.
Right. I believe the compass chest, the one that's blocked by the blue pegs right in front of it, had to have been a small key if the cutscene chest was a big key.
And there's another small key. And we got a sword from the mushroom.
So there was another sword up in Ganon's tower in the firebar room, so it's very likely that we're going to see Furaime at least have the tempered sword. I actually imagine that Furaime is going to do a... Nope, he's not going for a Pyramid Fairy check. I wonder where... Oh, he's just checking the Ether Tablet for now. Finishing off the checks that he can do with that book.
And looks like Meyer was a bust, and there's the 4th sword upgrade.
So Ack either needs to dip into Pod to get the book, and actually the book winds up not really being required here, because Ack will wind up probably getting the tempered sword if he ever decides to turn in his mushroom, which is also in Pod. Alright, so Furaime opting to go for the Pyramid Fairy here. Now his screen is kind of wrapped, and the game keeps track of Link in 2 ways, in a local position and a global position. Local meaning the overworld screen that you're on, and global in relation to the overall world map. Now, since his screen was wrapped, when he placed the mirror portal, it actually wound up at his global position, and now he's got to go back to that area, which is actually in the castle courtyard. And he placed it in a pretty specific location, although it's got a pretty wide window for it, so that he can just go right into the Pyramid Fairy Cave without ever opening it up with the big bomb. And because he came down Death Mountain in the way that he did, when he falls into this hole, it's always going to be a Houlihan room.
Which gets him very conveniently right back to Hyrule Castle Courtyard, and Sick Kid having a fire rod.
Now, Ack, missing the mitts, has to go and do this rather slow portal to get to Thieves Town from the Kakariko village proper. So with that fire rod, it looks like he's going to go for Skullwoods first, which isn't a bad decision. He's able to fully clear it here and get himself a crystal.
And Furaime clips into Pyramid Fairy, and nothing.
Now, he did leave his portal low enough that he's able to exit out of the cave in only 1 try. If you have your portal high enough, sometimes you wind up getting kicked back into the entrance and have to lower yourself little by little until you're able to walk on the normal ground again.
We're going to see Skullwoods from Ack, and Furaime is going to show us the front of Escape. Both the things are new information for both of for us, and $5 in the vanilla big key chest in Skullwoods.
That's 1 out of the 2 items in this dungeon. Now, Axe only got 3.5 hearts, but he does have a fairy, which he hopefully doesn't have to use here on Mothula, but he at least has that safety just in case.
He could also Death Warp if he wanted to here, because he'd get, well, until he got that heart, well, even then, he would still get more hearts by Death Warping, and there's a second item, 10 arrow upgrade.
Looks like he's just opting to backtrack, which is perfectly fine. He feels comfortable with his execution level and probably knows that he still has that fairy, so he's banking on that to save him if necessary. An escape not really paying off for Furaime there.
Yeah, both of these dungeon dips not yielding any sort of progression except the crystal for Ack.
Now let's see, where is Furaime going now? He's doing a Hera clip, and he is not correcting his camera, so he's likely going to GT. I hope he goes and checks the spike cave on the way down. He's trying to find the warp tile. There we go. Is he going to go for a spike cave? He's got everything he needs for it. Nope, he's skipping right by it and going straight into GT.
So he will most likely get to Butter Sword, get his Ice Rod, and that will be about it that Furaime sees.
Ack with a nice set of hammer hits on Moth. And since it takes such a long time to backtrack out of Skull Woods, Ack is opting to instead just use a save and quit. Although it's going to be interesting to see where he decides to go next. I imagine he's going to use this portal down here to go and do the South Loop, pick up the items from Stumpy and the Digging Game, or at least I hope so. That'll net him his mirror.
Yeah, he's already done Hype Cave. That's how he got his Power Glove. And I would agree with you. The mirror is certainly what the most pressing, well, I don't want to say most pressing, but in terms of progression. But actually, he's going to do Pyramid Fairy the normal way since he's got both Hera and Skullwoods done.
Interesting. Maybe he thinks that mirror is locked inside there.
So since we were talking about needing the mirror, we definitely need bow and hook shot. We will need Canis Samaria for Turtle Rock.
And we do need the mirror for Swamp at the very least.
As well as the flippers. Quake you may not need for Turtle Rock. It just depends on the key layout for Turtle Rock.
Although if you're using your keys in a smart way, I don't think it's ever required. Actually, I think I've had one instance where it's been required to open up the front of Turtle Rock, but maybe I didn't use my keys in the best way. Ack going for a quick big bomb dupe. He's got to enter the screen transition while the timer is at 0, and he lost it.
I think that's the second time he's done that.
If only he knew his mirror was just a little bit further away. So Furaime, despite having the gold sword, is not really going to have that much easier of an Armos fight. Looks like he's getting the Cane of Birna ready. Oh, that bonk setup is awesome!
Yes.
Wow!
I saw this in the last race, and very nicely done for Furaime to get 5 of those down with using just a Cane of Brian.
I'm curious why he didn't use all of his magic, though, because there is a small magic pot in the right side, just in case he finds the Cane of Samaria in these upcoming chests here. So Furaime picks up his flute. It's actually questionable as to whether Furaime will actually activate that right now. I'm not entirely sure he will. I mean, he's already turned in the mushroom, so there's no need to flute over to the witch anymore. And he's done a lot of stuff in the Village of Outcasts. So I honestly see a good case for not activating it from here on out.
Well, he's heading into CAC. And it looks like he will activate it.
Okie dokie.
I think in some ways, I don't know if it makes sense in terms of his routing, but the thing is, at this point, with him having done Pod and GT, Skullwoods and Thievestown seems to be the most logical play for him, so I guess while you're here, go ahead and activate the flute and get your Fire Rod from the Sick Kid.
Yeah, I've forgotten he hadn't checked Sick Kid yet for the Fire Rod, so that makes a lot more sense to activate it since it's directly in the way. And now AcktheBoker is checking Spike Cave, which is good. Meanwhile, Furaime using the knowledge that there is a full magic drop in that tree that you can bonk. And there's our Cane of Samaria.
And Ack ran out of magic before he could get out and waste his fairy on the Spike Cave floor. So do you do Turtle Rock since you're here?
Yep. Or he's got to reset his camera somehow, which is likely going to be a save and quit. But yeah, he's definitely going to go to Turtle Rock now since he can fully clear that dungeon. Now, he is going to have to find some magic from somewhere. I imagine he's going to go for a Super Bunny Cave, because there is a full magic drop there. Or he could just opt to get a couple of small magics from the Pokies 2 room that's near the big chest entrance.
Yeah, because with the boots, you can bonk from the big chest room in Turtle Rock, and then from there you get that second Pokey room you were talking about in order to get those magic refills.
Now, I don't know if Furaime actually went for the vanilla big key chest in Skull Woods to get the item out of there. So I don't know if he's got one item or none of the items yet out of Skull Woods. He's opting to go for Mothula first in the back entrance here.
I believe I saw him move the statue, and I think he did get the item.
And here goes Zack with another hover.
box to get to the third one, and then we'll need to hover again to get the last chest.
Why are you hovering here, Ack? You can just fall.
Ack certainly likes to show off from what I've seen.
A nice moth fight from Furaime. Helps to have that much better sword in hand.
And he is gonna get the Ack is gonna get that magic to cancel for heading into Turtle Rock.
And from here, does Furaime check pedestal after getting this last chest in Skull? That's going to be an interesting question here.
Alright, so into Turtle Rock we go.
There's actually a couple of things we could have on pedestal here, either bow or flippers.
Well, looks like we may get that pedestal check. Yep, we will. What do we got?
Just 3 bombs. Vanilla Big Key in the Turtle Rock. And it looks like Furaime is taking a dip into Ice Palace from here. He's got everything he needs to clear it.
It is a green pendant, so you'll have the 3 items plus the 1 on Sahasrahla.
And with another small key there, he can access the front without needing to use the medallion. So we do not need that Quake today. There's our first item in Ice Palace, a single green rupee.
Ack electing to empty his fairy in a bottle. I imagine this is... Well, he still doesn't have the mirror, so this is probably a death warp to get back to the big chest room after he finishes the roller room here.
Yep, and because those rollers deal a hefty amount of damage, it's not going to take too long. Although why he grabbed that heart is anybody's guess.
Well, he kind of had to get the magic refill.
I'm not sure if he had enough to get through all of it. Maybe he didn't. I wasn't paying that much attention when he grabbed it. Now, lacking the hookshot, he does actually have to do this room the intended way. There's another bottle.
And there's that death warp.
Alright, so I think is there one more small key? Yeah, there's one more small key on Laser Bridge that he's going to get here. Meanwhile, Furaime is making his way through the right side of Ice Palace, checking the next set of chests available to him. We get the map from the revealed chest, and then from the big key chest, what do we get? the second item, a red rupee. And now Ack is at the laser bridge. There's that last small key. There's that map. There's that fall.
There's the big key in Ice Palace.
A red rupee for Ack on Laser Bridge, and one more chest before Trinix. Ooh, he's got to be careful not to get hit by the lasers here.
And since he's gonna get the safety door. And since that was a big 20 on the laser bridge, that means Trinix is gonna have the compass.
But he's still gonna go for it anyway to get that nice crystal.
Always important.
Afterward, I wonder if he's going to dip into Ganon's tower again to check the right side.
He certainly could. And knowing that Ack can hover... Oh, wait. Still no bow. Still can't get through to the gauntlet.
Right. Opting for hammer strats on the firehead at the very least. Gotta watch his magic. He's got a couple of shots left here. Oh, misses one. This is his last shot. Oh no.
Press F to
Good thing you took that safety door.
Yeah, that will certainly help. Meanwhile, I think Furaime has found all 3 items because he didn't even bother going into the big chest, and he's going straight for Cold Stare.
And with Gold Sword, this fight is pretty trivial.
In fact, it's already over. All right, let's try this again.
Okay, why didn't that fire rod shot hit the ice head? Did it hit the projectile coming out of its mouth?
You can't see it, but I'm shrugging right now.
Alright, finishes it off with the hammer. Meanwhile, it looks like Furaime is going to enter, or he's dropping off the green pendant from Ice Palace.
Which is just a lot of money.
And on the second try, Ack kills Trinix.
So it's crystal number 4 for Ack. All right, so we're going to see a bumper cave check from Furaime with being able to clip up there. We don't need the cape for it. And
just some arrows.
So not even going to bother.
And it looks like Ack is going to go back into Ganon's tower here.
So far, we've seen Ice Rod, and we've seen Flute in GT. We get the Powder in the C-shaped house in Village of Outcasts. So we'll see if those, the 5 remaining chests on the right side hold anything else of progression.
Meanwhile, Furaime is opting to dip into Thieves Town for the first time here. First time we've seen it in either racer.
Yeah, we're starting to run out of... We're starting to run out of locations where progression can be. I mean, we've been through Pod, we've been through Turtle Rock, Mire, and Ice Palace. I mean, at this point, realistically, we're at Thieves Town and Eastern are really, and these 5 chests in the right side of the Games Tower basement.
And Powder. We need to still turn that in, which is, I think, our last fetch quest until we find the shovel. There's our Quake Medallion.
And I'm going through all the locations in my head, other than Chess Game and the bombable hut in Village of Outcasts. I think we've seen pretty much all the Overworld locations that are available.
We haven't seen Mimic Cave yet. That is available to us thanks to Furaime finding the mirror.
And of course, because Ack doesn't have the mirror from the digging game, he wasn't able to check it while he was there in Turtle Rock.
Now, it's actually not too punishing for him because it doesn't take too long to go over to that middle ledge of T-Rock. You don't have to go through half the dungeon to get there.
Alright, there's the cape in Thieves Town, which, again, pretty much useless in this mode, unless you need it for Spike Cave.
But since we already have the Cane of Birna, that's made it completely useless. So here we go, the classic post-hour escape check.
As well as the post-hour reminder to please make sure you give AcktheBoker and Furaime your follows on Twitch. They are putting on quite the show for us tonight and deserve your follows. Looks like the maiden is a little pale today.
Well, Link is also pretty pale. We hadn't really made note of that yet either.
Yeah, I wonder if we should be concerned at all. Whoa, hey, there's the bow.
Alright, so now all we need is the flippers to know where everything is.
So, of the pendant dungeons, Thieves Town certainly was the play.
Now, there's still one more item in Thieves Town, so if this winds up being the flippers, that's pretty huge for Furaime. Although missing the cane is going to be a bit of a bother, since that will prompt him to full clear Swamp Palace looking for it. Oh, that's correct. They do still need the hookshot, too. Flippers and hookshot still at large. Oh, there's the flippers!
Speaking of...
Oh,
wow!
That is the second time that I've called something like that.
So, the back of Thieves Town certainly is certainly loaded at this point. So yeah, at this point, to recap, Ack needs to go to... Really just needs to go to Village of Outcasts. Thieves Town for bow and flippers, plus digging game for mirror. Furaime needs to go to Spike Cave and get the Cane of Samaria. And from there, it's pretty much a race to the hookshot.
We're getting a Powder Cave check, the Bat Cave from Furaime here. Meanwhile, where is Ack gonna go?
He's gonna.
He may be heading into Thieves from here. checking Bumper Cave along the way. And we get the hook shot. Okay, so now all Furaime needs is the Cane of Samaria from Spike Cave. And Ack just has to go clear out the Village of Outcasts here. Actually, where was that powder? It was in Sea House, right?
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, this this has gotten pretty close to the end all of a sudden here.
This could set up very nicely for Ack.
Man, Village of Outcasts was loaded.
Absolutely. All right, so with that bow, I imagine Furaime is going to combo Pod and Eastern here.
Didn't he already check a lot of Pod already? So I think he just has to go do the bow. No, he already did the Bowlock side with that Fairy Revival. So all he's got to do is kill Helmasaur, and then just mirror to Eastern and clear that out.
Yeah, because the book is where was in Pod.
As well as the other glove. The one that Ack is missing.
Speaking of which, Ack is going to go into Thieves Town. So you imagine if he full clears, we'll get bow and flippers.
I imagine he will full clear because there was only one non-dungeon related item in the first 4, so that means the other 3 are in the back. And it just so happens that 2 of them happen to be quite useful.
So you have... Now, I was about to say this sets up for Ack nicely. The problem is, in order to do Magic Bat, he's gonna have to do Mirror. So, so Tojo, you being the Overworld Glitches expert of the 2 of us, is there a clip that Ack can do once he gets a Mirror from Digging Game to go back and quickly get over to Magic Bat?
Yep, there is. Although he doesn't even need to do that, because as soon as he gets the mirror, he's got the hammer, so he can just head right over there to it, provided he clears everything else in the Dark World here.
That is true.
But there is still a clip that you could do, just in case. A nice hell wave for AcktheBoker in Thieves Town. And a nice set of turtles for Furaime in Palace of Darkness.
And Furaime is heading into Helmasaur.
Gold Sword will make quick work of this fiend here. Let's see, the swords that are missing are both related to Pod, because one of them is on Ether Tablet, and the other was in... Wasn't it in... Where was that other sword? I know that they were both related to Pod. Was it in there itself?
Yeah, it was, I think.
So, unfortunately, Ack is going to be missing that sword until then. However, I don't think it's going to hinder him too much. Oh, okay, so Mushroom was in Pod, and you have to turn that in for your other sword. So that might mean that Ack might not get either sword at this point. He could possibly check the Ether Tablet after doing a Hera clip in order to get to GT to do the upstairs. So he might be able to get tempered that way. Although actually he's going to wind up just go-moding Pod, so he may not even get the book out of there.
No. And the big key was in the... Well, okay, the big key was in the compass chest. And the book was in the vanilla big key chest. And the mushroom was in Dark Maze. So yeah, unless Ack unless Ack for some reason decides to still full clear Pod, I imagine once he finds the big key in the compass chest, he's going straight for Helmasaur.
Oh, getting a little bit rocked by Blind here, getting a bit off script. Thankfully, he's got Cane of Birna and half magic, so he's just going to kind of follow Blind around now.
And at that point, we'll get his flippers.
Alright, there's the big key for Eastern. Now, Furaime still has to clear out a couple of chests here at the very least. I haven't been counting items in Eastern. I don't know if there's still going to be one in the big key chest or if it's going to be specifically on Armos. Looks like he's not taking that gamble and checking the big key chest anyway. And AcktheBoker leaving Thieves' Town before picking up his mirror. Uh-oh. He's got to go to that digging game. He really needs it. Looks like he's opting instead to go fully clear GT and doesn't really care that he's missing hookshot for the Moldorm 2 gap. He's just going to hover it.
And we've seen him hover quite a bit throughout this race, so to me that would make sense.
There you go, Ack. Finally gets the clip.
And will be shortly making his way up to the gauntlet. Now, time to melt some Marmos Knights with silver arrows.
Ooh, gets a little bit of a miss there.
But gets it done.
So from here, I imagine Furaime is actually going to go into Swamp Palace, unfortunately, since that's a greater item density for him to check rather than just Spike Cave. Oh, he's getting that hook shot out. Maybe he's opting to clear GT from here. And he's using that to get a couple of spin speed clips. If he checks Spike Cave on the way here, he's in great shape.
It would actually put him into go mode.
Oh, he did the quick drop to get all the way down to the bottom first, so he is still skipping Spike Cave for now.
So he's going to join Ack in GT.
With a bit of an equipment advantage in the gold sword. Although I think Ack is past the point where he is going to get any kind of time loss to having a worse weapon here.
So basically where this race sits at this point, Furaime's got to go Spike Cave and get the Cane of Samaria, and then do Swamp and Turtle Rock. Ack has to go to Digging Game to get the Mirror and Magic Bat to get the hook shot, and then can just do Swamp Pod in Eastern.
Meanwhile, Furaime still needs to go through all of Turtle Rock. Although the big key was vanilla in that dungeon, so what he could do is get the big key from the vanilla chest using the one pokey key that you get from that middle entrance, and then maybe opt out and just mirror rep to Laser Bridge?
There was one key on the laser bridge, so if he decided to do that, he would be able to get to Trinex quicker.
A nice Landmo 2 from Furaime. And Ack also did get a 1 cycle there, so we're doing pretty well on the Light World boss refights here. And we get a fall from Ack.
Trolled again.
I think I cursed him.
Second time the charm is for Ack.
And since he doesn't have the hook... Oh, no, he's got to go fight Moldorm again. Oh, no.
I would say trolled again, but he kind of did it to himself.
Yeah, by coming up here without the hook shot, he's got to hover to get past this last bit of GT. And I imagine he wants what's in that chest. Although, I guess he thinks it could be mirror, because it certainly can't be hook shot. And he gets the hover on the second try.
And just a 5-arrow upgrade from Trolldorm's last possession. And actually with Ack having to fight Trolldorm 3 times, as he enters the Geometry Wars, Furaime won't be far behind him.
Was it 3 times? I thought it was only 2. Oh, well, that was a triple.
He got trolled immediately, so I guess that's how you could say, yeah, it was only twice.
Okay, I thought he only fell once. I missed the first fall. But Ack pretty much did the best he could with that Aga 2 fight, considering the second cycle had a blue ball. Let's see if Furaime can follow suit. Gets a double on the first cycle. Gets a double on the second. This was going to be a tricky double here. Oh, and with the blue ball, it does make him take an extra cycle.
But down goes Aga 2 for Furaime.
Alright, so now Ack is going to go through Pod and Eastern, and because he doesn't have the cane, he's going to wind up full clearing these dungeons. So he is actually going to wind up with the book and the mushroom, I guess.
Alright, Furaime, where do you go from here? Do you go to Swamp? Or do you...
It looks like Swamp.
Yep.
Although he's... Wait, when did he get the shovel? Was that upstairs GT?
Mini Helmstar room.
Okay. So there's one thing that Ack has done that Furaime has not, which could be troublesome for Furaime if he decides to do it. That's Misery Mire. Ack went in there pretty early on and got both items, and knows that there can't be anything on Vitreous. Or at least I think he got both items there.
I honestly don't remember. All right, into swamp we go. And realistically, we've already found pretty much all the items, unless it's a shield or an armor upgrade or a swag net. We ain't finding much in swamp. Man, it certainly felt like a little bit ago, Ack was set up so nicely to where I was like, Ack's, you know, this is Ack's race to lose, but then when he didn't go to digging game for the mirror, now it's kind of brought this race back to wide open in terms of who's gonna go find their missing item first.
Yeah, usually Ack is pretty good about completing everything that's nearby. I hope he hasn't forgotten about the digging game. I mean, they don't call him Ack the Hundo for nothing.
Alright, so to your earlier point, Furaime really just has Mire and then Spike Cave and Turtle Rock. Ack still has he's been into Mire, but still has Ice Palace that he could do. And I imagine he'll probably do Eastern after he finishes Pod.
Yeah, so if he decides to dip into Ice Palace, that's going to be pretty bad for Ack. And without the mirror, he's got to take a little bit of a death warp here. Meanwhile, Furaime is going for a 0 cycle on Argus. Oh, misses it a little bit. I think he's going to miss it, yeah.
Yeah, he'll still get a one cycle there. But down goes Argus.
So all Ack has left in Pod here is Helmasaur. And then after that, he's got to clear out Eastern. And it's going to be interesting to see where he goes after that. And it's going to be interesting to see where Furaime decides to go here.
And he still has left side. I believe there are items on the left side, and Furaime is going to head back in.
Alright. Ack almost at Helma's Sword. Meanwhile, Furaime is just now getting to the drain for the left side.
Kind of more of a flood than a drain.
Well, it's draining something. We just don't see what it is.
This is true. This is true. Alright, down goes Homosar.
Alright, so Ack did get a few fetch quest items there. I hope he just goes and completes all of them right now. Between the mushroom, the book, and getting the mirror, and then the hook shot. If he just goes and just clears out all of his fetch quests, he's going to be in for a pretty good time here. There's our nets in the left side of Swamp.
Which now is pretty much useless, since we've already beat Aga 2.
So where are you going now, Furaime? He's going to the mountain. Maybe he realizes that he had missed out on the Spike Cave.
Ack is going to do King's Tomb.
That's right, he only just got mitts out of Pod there.
I think this is for Spike Cave.
No, he might be going into Turtle Rock without the cane, thinking it's in either the big key chest or Chomps.
Oh, Furaime!
I mean, that is logically possible, so...
It is! I mean, he doesn't know what we know.
And of course, lacking the mirror, Ack had to go and take a rather circuitous way of getting back to Eastern from Pod. I guess... Oh, I'd forgotten that Furaime hadn't checked Hookshot Cave yet, so this is definitely a much better play in his mind, considering how close all these items are.
And now he's gonna clip into Turtle Rock. Actually, I don't know if it was you or someone in chat was talking about the fact that you could clip your way into the laser bridge. In some ways, he could probably do this without the Cane of Samaria.
He could, but that is one heck of a hover there, and not very many people can do it.
Well, no, I'm talking about if you were, or someone was saying there's a way to clip into laser bridge.
There is, but it is not considered in logic.
Right, and so what I'm saying is that if Furaime decides to do that, then that hell of a hover you're talking about, he can just bypass.
No, because you still have to hover to get to Trinix there. There's that big room right before him. So yeah,
right.
there's no getting around that.
I'm sorry, that's my fault.
If he goes for that hover, that's going to be amazing.
Considering he hasn't been hovering, he probably won't.
There's one more spot here in Turtle Rock that... Actually, I guess there's one more. He can go check the Crystal Roller chest after this, as well as the big chest. So, there's just a couple of more chests here in Turtle Rock, but not very much. That's a nice timely refill for Ack in the Eastern Palace big key chest.
Alright, so Furaime heads out. started at Link's house and pulls out the flute.
Oh, he's going to Meyer. No! Oh,
Nope.
no! Oh, wow. This is really interesting. Please don't go to Ice Palace. Please don't go to Ice Palace. Just finish your fetch quests, man. Please.
Alright. Well, alright, he pulls out that mushroom, so that's a flute to 2, and we'll get at least a tempered sword. And then he might be doing this also to fill up on potions for Ice Palace.
Nah, he's got half magic. I don't think he's gonna do any potions here.
Yep, he pulls that flute back out.
If he goes to 3, we're good. If he goes to 8, we're bad. Alright, so 3.
Alright, so back to Dark World. He's probably gonna do Smith Chain.
Well, if he's doing Smith Chain, I hope he does Digging Game first so he doesn't have to backtrack that.
That would be the smart thing to do. Because you can't do Digging Game while you've got Jeremiah or the lunchbox.
Oh, he's getting Jeremiah. And without the mirror, he's got to turn him into the light world. Now, that does give him a chance to go check the Batcave, so we'll at least get the hook shot out of that. And thankfully, it's not the mirror, so that he does an unnecessary dip into Swamp.
Yeah, because for Ack, it's just a go mode of Swamp, and then...
And that's it, yeah. Just go mode of Swamp, because he's already got Aga 2 defeated. So the Ganon hole is open.
Ack, are you taking Jeremiah? He's taking Jeremiah to the pedestal.
Huh. I mean, I guess that's good, so it makes sure that he doesn't need to go and kill Vitreous.
Alright, so he's gonna do Magic Bat and get the hook shot here.
Okay, and now Furaime is just a couple of chests away from being done with Meyer here. Was there anything else that Furaime hadn't done? I want to say no, but I'm not entirely sure.
He's done all the fetch quests. Alright, Ack has the hook shot. Can't really think.
Okay, so Vitreous, I guess, did have an item, because Furaime was still checking chests after getting the red rupee there. Alright, looks like Ack is going back into the Dark World here. Meanwhile, Furaime is heading, I hope, over to Spike Cave.
Man, this is gonna be interesting if both of them are essentially about to correct their I don't want to say mistakes, but basically find the one item they've been missing. Alright, yeah, Furaime's heading into Spike Cave, so he will get into go mode here.
Ack is doing hammer pegs first. Actually, I think Furaime is in a better position because he's already cleared out a good portion of Turtle Rock and can thus just mirror up to the very back. Meanwhile, Ack does still have to drain Swamp and go through it and do the other drains along the way, which is going to cost time. So I think that Furaime is in a better position here.
And he, at 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 40 seconds, is into go mode.
And Ack picks up the purple chest mirrorless, so still putting off that digging game. Oh boy.
And deleted a save file for reasons.
I don't know, man. Alright, so now he's going to Bombo's tablet, which is going to net him his... Oh no, it's not a sword here. Sword is at Ether tablet, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it is correct.
So Furaime gets the laser bridge mirror wrap. He's got enough small keys, so he can just go straight to Trinix here. And with the gold sword, should be able to take care of him very quickly with a zero cycle.
And then it will be straight away to the big pig. Ack about to do dig spot, Furaime into Trinix.
And Ack is going into Ice Palace. I think he has completely forgotten about digging game at this point.
That is unfortunately probably going to do him in because Furaime has Trinix down. That will be crystal number 7 for him. And with Butter Sword and Silver Arrows, this will probably be the... Well, probably won't probably be. Will be the fastest GT fight possible.
GT? Just Ganon. We've already done the tower.
You know... It's almost 1:30 here in Central Time in the U.S. I'm gonna say that's why I'm making even more mistakes than I normally am.
So outside of Vitreous, Furaime did actually pretty much clear everything, from what I can tell. Well, Vitreous and the right side of GT.
All right. Into the big pig.
It's just going to be 6 slashes each for the first couple of phases, and then 4 more slashes for the third phase, and then 4 arrows for the last phase.
And just like that, Furaime has the first 2 phases down.
Getting a few extra dashes in for good measure.
All right, phase 4.
That's 1 arrow in. Ooh, a nice low spawn there.
1, 2, 3. That is game, set, and match. And with that, Furaime finishes with an official SRTB time of 1 hour, 46 minutes, and 3 seconds. Spam those GGs in chat.
Congratulations, Furaime.
So with that, Furaime will move on to the semifinals. And unfortunately, at this point, it looks like AcktheBoker has thrown in the towel and forfeited. We'll see if we can get both Furaime and Ack in here for an interview.
Furaime, I know, doesn't like to do vocal interviews. He will be in chat to answer questions if you have them there.
And actually, I see Ack in chat as well. So, overall, I do gotta say, it felt like it was a pretty close race. It just really came down to Ack missing the mirror in the digging game. That really just made all the difference in the race.
Yeah, if he had gotten that mirror a bit earlier, he wouldn't have messed up the bomb dupe for the Pyramid Fairy. He probably would have done the mirror portal setting after wrapping the map like he just did with his Hera clip. So he would have been pretty good on that sense. And as far as where else it would have led him, I'm not sure, because he got that cane in a pretty good time. A little bit after his first dip into GT, because I don't think he had an invulnerability item at the time. No, he did. Didn't he?
He had the cane. He had the cane of Brian. And because I remember him running out of magic as he was trying to walk out.
Yeah, he had it then, and I know he had the cane in GT as well. But I forget if he picked it up in the dungeon or if it was before that.
Yeah, because he was set up real nice to... When he was coming out of Thieves Town, if he had just remembered about Dig Game, he would have been set up nice to get the mirror and then could have easily gotten the hook shot, and that would have put him to go mode way before Furaime did. So at this point, you know, Furaime. So we know Furaime has moved on to the round of 4. Ozapone has moved on to the round of 4. We're just waiting on game 3 between,
Christos and Espion, which will be tomorrow afternoon.
And then we also have game 3 between Gem and Zero Rush. I know they were both busy this weekend and weren't going to be able to schedule their game 3 until Monday. But to your point, 4 p.m. Eastern, we will have Espion versus Christos Owen, I believe, on one of the ALTTP randomizer channels, because I know on the schedule it says it's not going to be a speed gaming channel. And then we're still waiting to see when Gem and Zero Rush schedule their game 3.
So let this be a lesson to you. Make sure you you check all the locations that you're actually near. It seems that X mismarked his tracker that he was using, that he had already done the digging game, when in fact he hadn't. And it looks like that's exactly where he's going to go check right now.
Mm-hmm.
So one more time, if you like what you saw out of this race, be sure to give our runners here a follow. And if you want to try this mode out for yourself, feel free to pop on by the Glitched Modes channel on the Randomizer Discord. We're always happy to have new people run this mode, and we'll be happy to answer your questions, too.
If you want to run Randomizer at all, we have the website of ALTTPR.com that you can use to access all of the different modes of the randomizer and be able to play them all out. Certainly give it a try. The community is very welcoming to new runners, and we love to see the growth of the community that we've had over the last year.
Yeah, it's been a crazy amount of growth, and there's been a lot of tournaments, and we're starting to near the end of this current one here.
Yep, we have the fall tournament. We have a summer tournament that's going on right now. We have a fall one that will be starting up in October that we'll have qualifiers for. And I mean, to your point, I got into the community over the holidays this past last year. So, I mean, I'm just new to this community in the last few months.
Yeah, I think I started right before the first spring tourney started. So I wasn't quite comfortable enough to join that one, but I already started racing at that point.
Absolutely. Well, let's also give a special shout out to Cassidy Moen. Our tracker did a really great job keeping track of the almost 100% that both of our runners had to do throughout this race tonight.
And it's been a lot of fun coming with you, Jex Refi.
Same with you, Tojo, although I've had all the mistakes. You really took care of all the logic in terms of the Overworld Glitches mode, and it was certainly a pleasure sharing the booth with you tonight.
I aim to be informative.
All right, well, with that, thanks again to AcktheBoker. Thanks again to Furaime. Be sure to give both of them a follow on Twitch. Thanks to the Speed Gaming staff for putting on all these tournaments and hosting all this action. Please be sure to give us subs, or any subs or bits you could donate will certainly help keep the community going strong. With that, Tojo, I'm Jex Refi. I think we're done tonight, and we'll see you next mission.
Catch you all later.